The last cargo. The Vespertine slid through the dark like a knife through black silk, her hull scarred with the kind of damage that no insurance underwriter would ever cover. Kenneth Vall sat in the pilot's couch, watching the slow burn of distant suns scroll past the forward viewport, and let himself imagine, just for a moment, what freedom might feel like. One more job. That was all that stood between him and a life he could finally call his own. "You're quiet today," said the ship. Her name was Ilsa, or at least that was the name Kenneth had given the synthetic intelligence that ran the Vespertine's systems. She spoke with a voice like warm gravel, the sort of voice that made a man feel less alone in the endless reaches between stars. "Just thinking," Kenneth said. "Dangerous habit. You should leave that to me." He smiled despite himself. 41 years old, and most of those years had been spent running freight that no honest captain would touch. Weapons. Black market gene stock. Refugees from worlds the coalition had quietly burned. He had told himself in the early days that he was different from the others. That he ran cargo, not cruelty. That the things he carried were not his responsibility. The lie had worn thin somewhere around his 15th year in the Helion Combine's service. The Combine. The largest corporation in the settled galaxy. A creature with 10,000 arms and no heart at all. They owned the shipping lanes, the terraforming rights, the water on 100 worlds. They owned the law where the law could be bought, and they owned men like Kenneth Vall, body and soul, through debts and contracts, and the simple, brutal arithmetic of survival. But the contract had an end. Kenneth had read every clause of it, had memorized the fine print the way a prisoner memorizes the cracks in his cell wall. One final mission, the delivery they had designated Cargo 7. And his debt was clear. He would be a free man. He could take the Vespertine and vanish into the unmapped territories beyond the reach, where even the Combine's arms could not stretch. "Approaching the rendezvous coordinates," Ilsa said. "Helion Station Meridian 9. Should I hail them?" Kenneth's hands tightened on the armrests. "Do it." The viewport shimmered, and the station resolved out of the dark. A great wheel of metal and light turning slowly against the void, ringed by the running lights of patrol craft. Meridian 9 was a Combine way station deep in contested space, the kind of place where things were transferred that no one wanted recorded. Kenneth had been there twice before. Both times he had left feeling as though he needed to scrub something off his skin. "They've cleared us for Dock 7, Ilsa reported. "There's a welcoming party." "There always is." The docking clamps engaged with a shudder that ran through the whole ship. Kenneth unbuckled, stretched the ache out of his spine, and went to retrieve his coat. A long gray thing, scorched at one hem with a flechette pistol sewn into the lining. He did not expect to need it. He always carried it anyway. "Ilsa," he said, pausing at the airlock, "if this goes wrong—" "It won't. If it does. The protocols are loaded. You burn for the reach and you don't look back. Understand?" A pause. When Ilsa answered, the warmth in her voice had gone soft and strange. "I understand, Kenneth. I always have." The airlock cycled open. The man waiting for him on the other side wore the immaculate charcoal uniform of a Combine executor, and he smiled the way a scalpel smiles. "Captain Vall," he said. "You're punctual. The Combine appreciates punctuality." "Cut the courtesies, Director. I'm here for the cargo and the clearance of my contract. Nothing else." The executor, his nameplate read Solene, inclined his head. "Of course. Walk with me." "Tell me about her," Kenneth said. The Vespertine had been underway for 6 hours. The pod sat secured in the cargo hold, glowing its soft blue glow, and Kenneth had not been able to stop thinking about it. He sat in the galley with a cup of synthetic coffee going cold between his hands. "I can't," Ilsa said. "The pod is sealed against all my sensors. I can read its temperature, its power draw, its mass, nothing more. Whoever built it to hide from machines like me." "She's a child, Ilsa. She has the morphology of a child. That's all either of us knows." Kenneth rubbed his eyes. 18 years. He had told himself he carried cargo, not cruelty. He had told himself the lies so many times that it had nearly become true. And now, at the very end, with freedom close enough to taste, the Combine had handed him a sleeping child and told him not to look too closely. "You're going to open it," Ilsa said. It was not a question either. Soline said, "I know what Soline said. I also know you, Kenneth Val. I've known you for 11 years. You will not deliver a child to people who freeze children, not even for your freedom. You'll tell yourself you're only going to look. And then you'll look. And then everything will change." Kenneth said nothing. The coffee had gone entirely cold. "For what it's worth," Ilsa said quietly, "I think you should look." It took him 3 more hours to work up the nerve. The pod's seals were Combine military grade, but Kenneth had spent 18 years moving the Combine's secrets, and he had learned a thing or two about their locks. He worked in the cold of the cargo hold, his breath fogging, the girl's face hovering pale beyond the frosted glass. He told himself, as Ilsa had predicted, that he was only going to look. The final seal released with a hiss of escaping gas. The glass cleared, and the girl opened her eyes. Kenneth stumbled back. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean water, and they fixed on him with an awareness that no 8-year-old should possess. She sat up slowly, the cryo-fluid sheeting off her skin, and looked around the cargo hold with the calm, assessing gaze of something far older than her body. "You opened it," she said. Her voice was small and clear. "You weren't supposed to do that." "Are you—" Kenneth swallowed. "Are you hurt? Are you all right?" "I'm fine. I was only sleeping." She tilted her head. "You're afraid." "Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you, Kenneth Val. You know my name. I know a great deal." She climbed out of the pod with the careful precision of a much older person and stood barefoot on the cold deck, dripping, utterly unconcerned. "I know that you've been carrying me for 9 hours. I know that you have a contract with the Helion Combine, and that delivering me will end it. I know that you're a good man who has done a great many bad things, and that the contradiction has been eating you alive for 18 years. Kenneth lowered himself slowly onto a cargo crate. "What are you?" The girl considered the question seriously. "That's the right thing to ask. Most people ask who. You asked what. That's because you can already tell." She wiped fluid from her face. "My name is Aoid. The Combine made me. I'm a person, but I'm also something else. Do you understand what an oracle is, Kenneth? A fortune-teller, a myth. In the old stories, yes, but the Combine built a real one." She sat down across from him, drawing her knees up. "They've been trying for 40 years. Quantum predictive intelligence grown in a human substrate. A mind that can model the future. Not magic, mathematics. You take enough data about how the galaxy works, about politics and economics and human nature and the movement of fleets and the flow of money, and you build a brain capable of holding all of it at once, and that brain can see what's coming. Not perfectly, but better than anyone, better than anything. And that's you." She told him then the rest of it. The thing she had seen that the Combine did not know she had seen. "There's a branch in the future," Iwide said. "A narrow one. The Combine thinks their victory is certain, and it nearly is. But there's a single thread where it isn't, where everything they've built comes apart." She drew an invisible line on the deck with one finger. "It starts here, on this ship, with you, with me. The coordinates on your data chit lead to the Black Facility, but there's a free world's listening post 6 hours off your route, a relay station for the resistance that's been fighting the Combine for 30 years, and losing. If you take me there instead of to the facility, and if I speak to them, if I give them what I know, the predictions, the weaknesses, the futures, they win. Not easily, not bloodlessly, but they win. The Combine falls. The 1,000 years of suffering never comes." She looked up at him. "That's the thread, Kenneth. That's the future where the galaxy is free, and it runs straight through you." Kenneth's mouth was dry. "And if I deliver you as ordered?" "Then the Combine builds Cargo 8, and Cargo 8 tells them how to win, and they win. And you get your freedom. You take the Vespertine into the Reach, and you live out your days far from all of it, and you never have to see what you helped to make." She said it without judgment. "That's a real future, too. A good one for you. You earned it. 18 years. No one would blame you. You're a child." "I'm a weapon that looks like a child," Aoid said gently. "And I'm asking you to choose. Your freedom, the freedom you've bled for, that's 6 hours away from your grasp, or the freedom of everyone else who will ever live under the Combine's hand. You can't have both. That's the cruelty of it. That's why they chose you to carry me. They knew you wanted out so badly that you'd never throw it away. They knew your hunger for your own freedom would keep you blind. They were almost right." Kenneth stood. He walked to the viewport at the end of the hold and looked out at the stars, the cold, indifferent stars, the ones that had watched him carry 340 loads of human misery across the dark. "If I do this," he said, "the Combine never lets me go. They hunt me to the end of the galaxy. Yes, I'd be giving up everything. Yes, there's no version where I win. There's a version where you win something better than winning," she said. "But no, not the way you mean." Kenneth pressed his forehead against the cold glass. 18 years. The starving boy on the dying colony world, signing his life away for a cup of clean water. The hundreds of nights spent telling himself the lie. "I carry cargo, not cruelty." He had built a whole life on that lie, and now the lie had a face and ocean-colored eyes, and it was sitting on the floor of his hold asking him to be the man he had always pretended he was. "Ilsa," he said quietly, "plot a course to the free world's relay." "Already done," said the ship. "I plotted it the moment she said the word. I told you that you'd look. I told you everything would change." Aoid smiled, and there were tears in her eyes. And Kenneth did not understand why an oracle who had foreseen this moment should weep at it. The Combine Patrol caught them 4 hours out. Kenneth had known they would. The data chit had a transponder buried in it, a fail-safe in case the courier developed a conscience. He had found it 20 minutes after changing course and torn it out, but by then the signal had already gone, and now 3 Combine interceptors were burning hard on the Vespertine's tail, their weapons hot. "They're hailing," Ilsa said. The bridge lights had gone red. Aoid sat in the second couch, strapped in, watching the tactical display with her unnerving calm. "Put it through." Solene's face filled the screen. The scalpel smile was gone. "Captain Val, you disappoint me. You were so close to freedom." I changed my mind about what freedom means. How poetic. And how futile. You cannot outrun 3 interceptors in that scrap heap. Surrender Cargo 7, and we may yet honor the original terms. Continue, and we burn you out of the sky. 2 hours to the relay, Aoid said quietly. We won't make it. Not at this speed. Not with them on us. Kenneth looked at the display. The 3 red contacts closing, their firing solutions tightening. He looked at the girl. He looked at the long, dark scroll of stars. Ilsa, he said, the protocols, the ones I loaded before we docked, you still have them? A pause. Kenneth, do you have them? I have them. What protocols? Aoid asked. For the first time, the oracle sounded uncertain. For the first time, she did not seem to know what came next. Kenneth unbuckled his harness. There's an escape pod, he said. Combined military, fast, hard to track. I had Ilsa install it 3 jobs ago, against the day I'd need to run. It'll get 1 person to the relay, just 1. He was already moving toward the rear of the bridge. The Vespertine stays. Ilsa takes the helm, brings the interceptors in close, and... He stopped. He didn't say it. He didn't have to. You'll die, Aoid said. Probably. He helped her out of the couch. Her small hand was warm in his. But you'll make it. And that's the thread, isn't it? That's the future, where the galaxy is free. Aoid stared up at him, and something passed across her ancient young face. A flicker, a calculation, a thing too quick to read. There's something I didn't tell you, she said. Tell me in the pod. We're out of time. No, now. She planted her feet. I lied to you, Kenneth. Or, not lied. I left something out. The thread doesn't run through me reaching the relay. It runs through you, through this choice. Through a man who spent 18 years carrying other people's cruelty, choosing, freely, fully, with everything to lose, to give his life, so that strangers might be free. Her voice broke. That's the data point that changes everything. Not my predictions. They were never the weapon. You are. A single act of unbought sacrifice in a galaxy the Combine taught everyone to sell. Kenneth stared at her. I don't understand. There is no relay, Kenneth. The tears spilled down her face. There's no resistance waiting 6 hours away. There's no facility past the edge of the stars. There's only this ship, and these interceptors, and the choice I needed you to make. The bridge seemed to tilt under him. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm not a child being shipped to her death. Aoid's form flickered, just slightly, just at the edges, like a hologram catching the light wrong. I'm Cargo 7, the Oracle, but I was never frozen in that pod. The pod was empty. I'm the projection of a quantum predictive intelligence the Combine built into the core of this ship 11 years ago. And I have been running, all this time, one single simulation, modeling whether a man like you, given everything to lose, would choose to lose it. Whether sacrifice still existed in a galaxy that had forgotten how to give anything away for free. Kenneth's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the deck. Ilsa, he whispered,